All right. Ladies,
Right,
I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I believe it is 6:41.
6:41. 5:41?
5:41.
5:41.
It is now 5:41, and I am calling the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yes, I'm gonna call on control, you're gonna get, present, Amber Hinojosa.
Here.
Sylvia Bruni,
Present.
Miriam Castillo. She was calling me. Rosa Maria de Llano,
Present. Could you hear me?
loud and
Oh,
clear.
good, good.
Pirova,
She was there.
Esther Pirova, she's probably on mute.
Yeah.
You can unmute yourself, please. Maribel Garcia. Marie Gonzalez. Jessica Montiel.
Present.
Silvia Palam. Silvia? Okay, she's Priscilla Pantoja. Priscilla Pantoja.
Present.
Guadalupe Ramirez.
Here.
Maxine Vélez. María Antonieta Reyes. Diana Rodríguez. Yvette Romero.
Present.
Marta Wright Martinez.
Present.
Chair, Madam Chair. Quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to do this before we move on into the regular agenda. I know that is a newcomer, just recently appointed us to the commission. Martha, would you like to introduce yourself to the rest of the commission? And then later, as we have more time, each one of us will introduce ourselves to you. But for now, welcome.
Thank you. And I'm Martha Wright Martinez, and I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor all my life, or at least it feels like it. And it's been a privilege to been asked to join this committee.
Thank you. And each one of us, God willing, next month we're going to here regarding how we're going to continue to meet. But thank you and welcome to the commission. Okay. All right. Then let's move on. Are there any public comments? If not, then I would ask you to commission members to you might have already read the minutes, and when you're ready, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I can't hear anything. I'm sorry, I can't hear anything.
We're waiting on a motion to.
I motion that. The meeting be
Guadalupe. Let the minutes be accepted. Need a second. Opposed? Motion passes. I think let's move on to agenda items under discussion was possible regarding officers for the 2021-22. The appointing, and I've already spoken to both Miriam Castillo and Rosa Maria Dano, and I will serve as the nominating committee. That committee will be expected to make recommendations for each of the officer positions that will be made from the floor on the day of the election. The members of the nominating committee are not eligible for an elected office. Each office position is for a term of 1 year and shall serve from October 1st through the following September 30th. And so that's in motion. You will be getting a report on that when we meet in September. All right? Any comments, folks, from the floor? Okay.
May I ask a question? I'm so sorry, but I think we missed the roll call. I just wanted to check to see if I was called present.
No, we did roll call. We did.
Yes, we did mark you present, Mr. Ova.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm sorry, Maria Antonieta, you have a question? Oh, Maria Antonieta, you okay? All right. All right, then let's move on to, agenda item number 7, committee reports. Discussion and possible action regarding the Laredo Commission for Women 2021 Action Plan, including but not limited to the following. First of all, the Hall of Fame. And if you'll recall that last month, we had a discussion regarding the nomination forms. And we did form a committee that was composed of Maria Antonieta Reyes, Jessica Ontiveros Villarreal, Priscilla Pantoja, and Miriam Castillo, who had volunteered to review and revise the application if needed. And that is what we're going to discuss next. Whenever you're ready, ladies.
The initiative here.
Well, the form was revised and the last revision was sent to you. What, we attempted to do was to clarify some language that was confusing. And there's some changes that we are hoping to send to the, city council for approval.
Can I make just a comment? Before, Dr. Rodriguez continues, what the committee told at the last meeting is they decided to take draft number 2 and make some revisions. So the revisions, I emailed them to you today, okay? And it says at the top, proposed revisions, okay? So, so that is where she took draft number 2, and now it's proposed revisions, okay? So you wanna compare them side by side, please look at them side by side. Dr. Rodriguez did indicate that there are some changes that their committee is making that may have to be approved by council, because they're outside of the bylaws, okay, right? And you bring that up too, right?
That's right.
Okay.
All right, so the instructions are now in just 2 pages, and the 3rd page is the form to fill out. And of course, there is no big introduction. The introduction is just read this carefully and follow the instructions if you are nominating someone. The eligibility requirements, they were just changes to small words, and they are noted. If you look at them side by side, they're just for the purpose of making sure any average citizen understands the wording. And that is what we intended to aim at. Can anyone read the form and understand the instructions in order to fill it out correctly? Because that will also facilitate the judgment that we are going to make, right? All right, so we looked at the eligibility requirements against the bylaws. Now, one of the eligibility requirements has to do with the posthumous nominee will be considered, that no people that are dead will be considered. And I would like to challenge that, depending on the intent of the Hall of Fame celebration. I do not
in the bylaws, it just says, you know, biannual Hall of Fame, but it doesn't clearly state the intent of why the commission formed it. And so I am presuming here that the Hall of Fame was created to promote women in Laredo that do great things. And I am not sure we should disqualify those that are dead, especially when most history of Laredo is written about men. And so if we want to challenge the culture and the traditional point of view of historic review, we may want to consider actually nominating people that have done great things, or even creating a different type of, I don't know, category, yeah. But that's just from the point of view of the intent of the Hall of Fame, I don't know, program.
So you don't want, people that are dead to be nominated, or?
No, that's in the bylaws, no. In the bylaws is that people that have passed away cannot be nominated, and I believe that very much violates the intent of the Hall of Fame. If it is to bring light to women's contribution to the city of Laredo, especially in a historic point of view. If you look at most of the history books of Laredo, they are written about a center around men.
Can you all hear her on virtual? Or does she need to speak louder?
Yes, I can hear her. It would be but a little bit louder.
Clear?
Yeah.
I can hear her as well. I actually raised my hand and I'm just gonna make a quick comment. Maybe, and I'm not sure if the rest of the committee members will agree, but I'm seeing here two different topics. I think one of the tasks was to submit suggestions as to how to have a friendly version of the application. And this particular topic, I feel it has to do more with the bylaws. I'm not sure if they should be treated as two different topics.
The thing is, that's part of the application. I think that's why Dr. Reyes, raised that issue. So hopefully we can address that now.
I have a question, or maybe it's a comment, comment. If we do nominate people who have passed, is there any time, period of limitation? Because I would certainly like to nominate some great Laredo women that I think have been overlooked by our history and by our, I'm talking about Leonor Villegas Magnon, who was great during the Mexican Revolution on both sides. She worked for Laredo, Texas, and went to help the revolution. And the other one was Jovita Idar, who was, a fantastic women. Both of them work together and they're fantastic. So would we go as far as 100 or just, like we had 2 years ago when Ms. Achar was being considered? So what is the term of limitation?
Right now, there are no that excluded. The word.
It's a lot of echo.
Yes, we're having echoes. We can't hear you.
Zulema, I don't know if there's a way that we can monitor who wants to speak, because right now I
They can
can't
raise
tell.
their hand.
Raise her hand, possibly.
Right, okay, and so right now I'm recognizing Rosa Maria de Llano.
But wait a
Unmute
minute,
yourself, Rosa Maria.
excuse me, but there are 4 that we don't see, so how do we know if they're?
No, we have their name, well,
Well, just to open up their camera.
I was raising my hand to tell you that now I could hear, but before there was an echo and we couldn't hear because it kept repeating, but now we can hear you, okay? And I know technology is not, I know we have a hard time, but now we can hear you.
If you don't mind, could you please mute yourselves unless you're speaking, please?
And open up their camera so we can see them.
A lot of them are phone calls.
Because how do we know that they want to speak?
And I think, Esther, you're logged into places. Esther, I have two logins for you.
I cannot log, okay, this thing about opening the screen and showing your picture. I could not do that on the one that you see my name on, and I can't get out. So I went on a new one and I opened up the screen on the new one. So maybe that's the same problem with Sylvia and Priscilla.
You're okay. Thank you.
Something you might want to consider if it's back on the floor or on the table would be that we might want to consider having, I think the original rationale for keeping it to women that were alive was that there was such a field of women that had not been recognized, that it was only fair to focus on the women that are currently living and working and serving. That, I think, had been the original rationale. But if you want to consider a posthumous award, we might want to consider having one, deciding, I'm just putting it out on the table. I'm not saying that that's the way it should be, but you might want to consider possibly every year designating one award posthumously to recognize a woman that served and was and excelled, no longer alive. That might be something you would want to consider.
Esther?
Yes, I thought, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but I thought this was a decision that had been made by city council with all their organizations. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's where it came from.
No se oye.
No, you can't hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Now I can.
Okay, I'm getting closer to the microphone. From what I remember, and I could be wrong, but city council had made this decision with all their organizations. I'm not sure, but I think that this is where it could have come from. That's what's ringing a bell for me. So maybe we would need to check first to see if that is so, if it can be done. But I agree with Sylvia on the reason why was that there are too many women that are alive and have done tremendous work. But I think, like Sylvia said, if we get one, out of the number that you're going to get, it will not deviate or take away from the group that is alive. If you have a category I guess it would be a special category that you would create for this individual. And if I'm not mistaken, I would recommend that we check with city council, Solema, or the rules, because I don't remember.
Let me go ahead and get clarification here, because again, just to expedite it, okay? Dr. Rodriguez did mention that they was gonna have to approach council. Okay, the recommendations, the revisions that the committee is making have to be approved by the majority of the commission, you all, okay? So then, if you all decide that you want to pursue the posthumous award to include it, you're gonna have to go before council and present that change and any other changes that you need to make, okay? Now, you have to remember, council, you cannot go to council and present something one day and have them approve it. You have to introduce it, then go back again so they can study it and they vote on it. So I just want to remind you that they're getting to have their council meeting on Monday, okay? That's the third Monday of the month. The deadline to put in agenda items for council is Wednesday at 3:15. Now, pretty soon, and I also sent you, and those of you who have it, a calendar of critical dates. Time is running short. So you have to consider as a commission, what do you want to revise and get council approval? Because that is not an easy task. from experience, it's not. It's a very cumbersome, draining task. So you as a commission, all the committee did was review it and they're making recommendations for you to consider. But the commission as a whole, you're the ones that make the decision on how to pursue this.
All right, I'm going to make a recommendation. First of all, let me ask Maria Antonieta, let's look at the application that they revised. Is there anything in that application that right now is dramatically different substantively from what we had been working on before? Can you identify what specifically is different? That was one. And two, that if we were to decide that we wanted to consider a posthumous award, we might want to consider one. So that if we're going to make a decision today, from what Sulema is telling us, I think we need to make a decision today so that we can move forward efficiently. So the first question, Madam Antonieta, any substantive differences in this application from the one that we had worked on before?
There were no differences. All we did was clarify the language, and the language was bylaws. What I did notice though is that the changes we are proposing will require city officials' approval, and it can be done. I mean, we can propose it by next Wednesday.
And the primary, I'm understanding, the primary addition would be the recommendation that we consider a posthumous award, and we still have to decide whether you want to do that, whether you want one or you want.
But that's why I was asking what the intent of the Hall of Fame. If the intent of the Hall of Fame is to promote women within the city, we don't have a choice other than adding that as a category. And I agree with you that we can make it a one every year. We can include, students to help us do research on which one to select that year, right? That can be done. But it depends on what is the intent of the.
And I think the intent of the Hall of Fame from the essentially has been to recognize women who have contributed greatly in those various categories. Primarily because when you think about it, your point has been that it has been mainly men who have garnered attention. And so that's the whole idea behind the mission of the Hall of Fame, is to serve and call attention to the needs and values of women.
Okay, Miriam, Miriam?
And then later,
Miriam? Miriam?
I think she's thinking that, I think she.
Miriam, unmute yourself, please. I don't see her anymore.
well, that's the way I said here.
Okay.
I was just gonna clarify from my understanding, the intent of the Women's Hall of Fame is to honor these women while they're alive, because we want to celebrate them with their family, like their family is invited to this big event. It's a big, celebration, and we get to honor them while they're alive. I think it would be good to maybe add and recognize somebody that trailed away that might not be, but the intent and the focus is to recognize these women that are still here.
Did we find medium?
No. But I might also want to point out that the committee is also recommending changes in the categories to consider.
Yeah, so if we do end up adding a category of customers, more changes can need to be made.
Excuse me, but what categories were added?
Yeah, I added religion and theology, communication, and other. I thought other was very important to add, and I erased professional from business, because that sends a subliminal message that only business is professional. Right? Right? So I just left business
Rather than business professional.
Exactly.
And you wanted religion, theology?
I added communication, religion, theology, and church. And in that, we can add posthumous award or something.
The only concern I'd have with other would be that normally you find that there's more than one coming in under a category.
Right.
And if you have other, that could open it up to, wow.
That's the mother.
Yeah, then how do you decide if, let's say you only have one, and because other is as open-ended as the universe?
You are correct, but that is a big issue and that is a burden that we have to carry. But for example, let's say someone nominates a check. Where would a check fit?
I can't understand. I have a question.
Unless the check is
May I, did
Okay.
you say, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't clearly understand you. Did you say you would eliminate professional and business?
No. He eliminated the, from business, because it implies that only the business category is professional. So she just calls it business, not business professional.
Yeah, in the bylaws, you have business/professional. And I don't think that should exist. That is a subliminal. Scale that business is above everything, the economy is above everything. But putting business/professional insinuates to anyone reading it that only business is the section that is professional. So all I did meant erasing /professional. Of course, business is there.
Okay, Miriam, you had your hand up? Miriam, you're back on?
You're muted. Yeah, she's speaking, but yeah.
Miriam?
I'm sorry, I lost connection. I think I'm having difficulties with my phone, but no, I'll go ahead and undo the raise hand. I think I already made my comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the virtual commission members? Yvette, are you okay?
Yeah, let me ask, so what happened to the posthumous award? That is not to be considered at all, or?
Haven't voted on anything. We're not gonna be voting on each item.
Okay,
We're on the changes as a whole, right?
That would be easier. It would be
Well, does someone want to entertain a motion to consider a posthumous award? Be added to the,
Madam Chair, I thought it was already, well, I couldn't hear well when you were all presenting the first part. It was hard to hear, but I thought it was part of your changes. That's what I thought. And since I didn't get I'm seeing Zulema, bobbing her hair. Okay, Zulema, thank you. That's a good answer, Zulema. I can certainly understand that one. Okay, but bear with us. It's not easy with this new. Okay, but I'm glad you gave us this option.
all right. But basically, right now it's in the draft that was presented, but Maria Antonieta is making a recommendation that we consider including a posthumous award category. My suggestion was that we might want to consider every year, nominations for one posthumous award. That's just on the table.
See, I agree because, I already said two names from long ago, but, like Dr. Margaret Cigarroa, Dr. Ruby Laurie, who brought, half of Laredo children, well, who are now adults, and women like that who were not recognized before. And I think it would be a good idea. I mean, I love history. I'm a historian too. Aside from being a Spanish teacher, I'm historian. And I would like that, but you know, it's up to you all.
May I make the motion?
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we vote on adding that one individual to the category that is being mentioned. Or that one nominee.
the motion on the floor that we include in the award ceremony award that would be posthumously awarded to a woman who has already passed. That's a motion by Esther Quiroga. Is there a second? And
I second that one. I think it would be a good idea. And somebody said, you know, about the family coming. Well, I'm sure they have descendants. It depends, you know, like Margaret Cigarroa, yes, would have lots of descendants. And, you know, anyway, I second.
I think it was already said, Lupita Ramirez, but can you raise your hand if you want to speak so can give all of you an opportunity? It's been moved by Esther Quiroga and seconded by Guadalupe Ramirez that we add a posthumous award for one woman of distinction who has already passed. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye. Raise your hands. Hold it. Keep your hands up.
Okay, keep your hands up for those that were in favor.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, my hand is up. I put it on the screen. I don't know if you can see it. I just can't open my camera right now.
My hand is up and you can't see it. This is Sylvia Palumbo.
Miriam, how are you voting in the affirm? Okay, we got your hand.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, that's it. So the motion passes. All right.
If I may, also just consider that, as a Laredo Commission for Women, we're not allowed to submit any names ourselves. It has to be coming in from somebody else. I know that a lot of us know a lot of people that have already passed in all these different areas. And, just to keep that in mind, that it has to be brought about within the families, of these persons that have deceased. Make sure that.
Okay, I'd like to make another remark. Right now, we've made a motion and it's passed that we include a posthumous award. Looking at, now we're considering the entire application. Is there any more discussion, or do we make a motion now to accept the revised application as presented?
I think just the other, I mean, it just leaves open to wonder what. So, like, for example, she said, you know, where would a chef go under? Well, then just, it would be easier to include the culinary art or, you know, the actual option as opposed to leaving it as other, because other could be like so many things.
Yeah.
Because before, if I may, before we had 15 different categories at the very beginning. We don't even have there were 15 categories and they started diminishing the numbers to list categories. And I mean, they had agriculture and they had a lot of different things that they had deleted. Because really a lot of people wouldn't nominate those people in those categories. Or for many years, they didn't have anybody that was qualifying for that, or that they would actually recommend anybody in that in those categories.
Well, and just a reminder, commissioners, is that if nobody applies for that category, we don't force it, okay? But also remember that the changes to the additional categories be presented to council. Okay, did somebody have their hand up?
Over here, I've had Amber with her hand up.
Okay, but I thought I heard somebody
I've
talking.
had Amber with her hand up.
Okay, Amber?
I'm just kind of wary about this being religion and theology, because like, think about how many people, women or whoever thinks that they're just like this devout Catholic or whatever, and I mean, how can we like judge and put that on the scale, you know, that somebody who's more,
I can tell you probably,
you know, done.
I mean, All of these issues with specifics can be taken care of by others. I just want to put that out there, okay? If you don't want to add these many categories, because I just noticed sports is not there either, right? And Olympics are taking place. But anyway, religion and theology, I kind of advocated for that because theology is taught from the perspective of men. I don't know how many know that, but most of Catholicism emerges from Thomas Aquinas and St. Augustine, two men. And through history, just by the existence of priests in church and nuns outside the podium, we are subliminally educated that women cannot directly communicate with God. If someone comes in and creates changing that perspective, we are not talking about you are a good Catholic or are you creating significant change. We are not talking are you a special person. None of the criteria notes that. We're talking about significant change that will in some way, somehow help the equality of women. And that voice is needed in religion. And what if we encounter a priest or a preacher in Laredo that is a female that is changing how women approach religion and their conceptualization of God? To me, that's significant. It's super significant.
She's already doing that.
Now, I can make that argument, but if you guys don't want to fight in front of the city council for that many categories, I would advocate again for the word other. It would be simple. Because you're making already the point that there are categories we are not considering. And by not having the word other, we are closing the doors to these many dimensions that women are involved, and they actually create change, ripple effects.
The only, and I'm not in disagreement with you, Maria Antonieta. The only thing I can think of, looking ahead, you have something happening?
No, I have, Yvette Romero and Priscilla Pantoja raising their hand.
Okay, you need to help me with that because I can't see that.
I know. Well,
Do you have them in order? Do you have them in order?
Yes.
They're my comments.
First is, Yvette Romero. Yvette, then Priscilla, and then Rosa Maria.
Hi, yes, I was just, because we were gonna motion, or we did motion for that category, then the fourth bullet that we have here on the proposed change would need to be then removed.
Correct.
Okay,
That's gonna be removed because we've already agreed that there will be a award. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Priscilla Pantoja.
Priscilla Pantoja?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to comment. I really don't think that we should limit the categories to the list that we have on the application. I believe we should leave the word other because ultimately I don't think that we'll ever be able to list every area that a woman can excel in. And I think as long as the application is complete for the most part, we'll be able to decide whether they belong in the Hall of Fame or not.
Thank you. Rosa Maria Arellano.
Yes, I agree that I was reading the business dash professional, and the reason professional is there because they not only include the business, but they include aviation, construction, engineering, mathematics, science other than medical, transportation, manufacturing. And it says businesses or professions not listed in other categories may be included here. That's why it said professional. Now, since we took away the professional with business, okay, maybe in the other, we can put in just one that's professional and could include engineers and aviation, because I agree with Priscilla. There's a lot of other categories that might not be here. And it says also, I'm reading from one of the previous list. It says professions not listed in other categories may be included here, where it says professional. And I think that's why professional was there, not to say that businesses was the only profession, but because there were other professions that could be included. And by taking away professional, I know we've already voted, but by taking away professional, we're taking out all these other fields, that are very important. And like Ms. Pantoja mentioned, and, women excel in so many other categories. Okay, thank you.
Over.
I had Maxine over here.
I'm sorry, she got first. Esther, go ahead, and then Maxine Reveles.
Okay, I agree completely with both ladies. The reason that both words were there was because it goes further into the explanation that was given by the person recommending the change. I didn't know that we had voted for that, Rosa Maria. I thought we were gonna vote at the very end. So that no, Sulema?
Voted on the participants award, we have not voted on category.
Okay. So we haven't voted on that change from professional, removing professional from business. So that still is an option to leave there as well. And then go into the other, as Priscilla was explaining.
Maxine?
I agree with Maria, like, having the other there will put everything in there. It'll be up to us to pick, like, if it's a chef or whatever, you know what I mean? But if we have all these categories and no one's getting nominated, or only one person's getting nominated, like, you know what I mean? I think the other would catch everything else, the professionals, the chefs, whatever else we have.
The athletes, the sport.
Yeah, everything, you can go.
The ranking.
People, because we don't know how people feel about who they're nominating. Only they know, oh my goodness, that's an amazing athlete that you nominated, or whatever it is.
So let's vote on another. So what is the recommendation? We'll wait on a motion regarding the language for each of the categories. I think that's the only thing that's pending, discussing right now.
Okay, so when we leave other, then we need to put a blank, specify or something, so that we also have an idea what their other is. So that we don't give an award just like they're talking about environmental and then we're talking about recreational work at the parks or something. I mean, I don't know. So to leave it open for the person that's applying other, and then we can put specify, like, if it's a mathematician or, engineering and stuff. So that it's more specific than just other, but what other is it? So now it's their turn to tell us what is that other.
I think before we used to have a category and like volunteer, but,
You still have volunteers.
so, yeah, it was truly.
Well, let's just go ahead and make a motion to
include other, and then that's
I would like to see the motion, we still remove professional from business, we can make it an extra category, and then have other. And professional together. I study these things, and I know how powerful the visual of business/professional is. I understand it. And I think it's bad to leave it in a public record. But that's just an opinion. So we leave business as it is, and then include other. Include other. If we don't want to talk about communication, yeah, that would cover. And we can professionalism for professions if that is important to someone. Exactly.
Can't hear you.
You couldn't hear her?
I think a motion should come up for removing business/professions, because I do believe that it is impactful when it comes to educating people, and it's a public document. So we can vote on adding other, but also either adding professions as a category
Separately.
separate from business, or complete removal from it because we will add.
Or you guys want to add other professions? Yes.
So what you're saying is, may I address?
Ms. Villalba, and then it's Ms. Bruni.
Okay. So what you're saying is to leave business or professional, one or the other. And then the other?
To
Sounds,
leave business professional by itself, business by itself, professional by itself, or then other, include professional under other.
Okay, to me, professional encompasses many of these. When you think about, let's say, for example, law enforcement. Law enforcement is a profession. Healthcare is a professional. Legal is a profession.
yeah.
It's kind of moot because many of these are professional in and of themselves. So I agree with Maria Antonieta that we leave business alone because that encompasses many different businesses. And and I don't recommend professional instead of other, because then that means what about the others?
I meant other professions.
Well, the only thing is that then would that eliminate the athlete? I don't know.
Well, a lot of people do sports professionally.
Professionally.
I mean, pretty much other professions, it could be anything, like your profession could be in the kitchen, as a sports, I don't know.
I would suggest to leave business just by itself and then other by itself.
Yeah, and leave it
like that. Oh, okay, well, I'll make a motion to leave business by itself and include other by itself.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
And second.
Second.
Seconded by Amber Reyes Hinojosa. All in favor?
Aye.
So we can count?
Sylvia?
Yes.
Okay, everybody agrees.
Okay, any of? No. And then, so the motion passes? All right. Thank you, folks. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Maria Antonieta. All right, so excuse me. We're moving on to the commission members. We'll review the looking ahead calendar. And identify critical due dates for the 2022 Hall of Fame. Dates will be agreed upon and approved by the commission vote. One of the things then that will work there is that we will be going back to the city council to the approval of the new application. You'll give us dates for that?
They're here.
They're already in here.
They're there, but you have to tell me when.
I just wanted.
Yeah.
That for form, we have a nominee score of a minimum of 30.40. Okay, that whole line is not in the Bible.
Because that came about,
It's in the rubric though. A rubric is a part of the bylaws.
the year before that.
Okay.
It is in the rubric. There is a rubric in your bylaw. Yes, and that part of the bylaw was put together by, the legal department.
We inherited
And I
It is in 1007. Bylaws 10.07. It says the commission score sheets use a 10-point rating scale. For each score category, the maximum score any nominee can receive is 40 points.
okay, just wanted to make sure we were.
Okay.
We're okay. But the next thing is, I gave 10 different women the criteria to be evaluated. To 6 women were able to tell me back what that meant. And 2 women were not in fact about men. And so it don't completely where the origin of this, I couldn't translate it. I was able to help people by them finding words from the last for help. But I wanted to just, if you wanted to leave it like that or clarify it because 4 out of 10 women did not understand.
In all honesty, from my perspective, that rubric was created by the City of Laredo Legal Department. And I would go before council and ask legal if it can be amended or edited.
No, but in that form, is there any way we could explain it? Because, yeah, you're right, I didn't want to violate the language. But I just want to know if we could describe it or give examples or.
I'm not sure of what you mean.
So you mean, like, for example, on the distinctive accomplishment, you don't understand what they mean by
4 out of 6 women did not understand what distinctive accomplishment was.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, but I want to know if we can put it in the form.
Well, let me give you an example. When we were evaluating the applications, this was something that we discovered, that we had nominations that had been submitted, for example, of an individual lady who had served for 30, 40, 50 years, and they listed every assignment, every position, every, but it was not necessarily, I mean, in other words, there were promotions. That lady kept getting another assignment, but distinctive accomplishment meant, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say we had a woman who was in the military who had done some really extraordinary things for women in the military. That was you could tell right away that she was a trailblazer, in other words. And there's a difference between trailblazing on behalf of women in your profession and serving 30, 40 years in a career that basically just gave you another step up. That to me is a distinguished. It was very easy to see the difference between the two.
Okay, but could I write an explanation of that here? I just want to know before someone tells me no because it's not in the Bible. You see what I mean? Can I expand on what is the accomplishment here?
I imagine we could. I mean, I don't see.
I would recommend that, yes, you could recommend something, and again, it would have to be approved. It does need some clarification, okay? Again, distinctive accomplishment can be very subjective. I don't know. I mean, I guess that you could clarify it and present it to the commission as a whole, because the criteria is not going to change. That can happen after you present to council. The criteria is going to remain the same.
Right.
So that does not require council approval. You clarifying the criteria does not require council approval. It requires commission approval. So the commissioners, the ladies, have to be in agreement that will fit what the commission's trying to do. Does that make sense?
Okay, that sounds good. I can create an amendment.
Does that make sense, ladies?
On the same token, maybe in an earlier version, I know that we had, under the categories that were to be considered, we actually had a descriptor for each one of them. Here we don't, so I don't know whether that's something else that we might want to consider, Maria Antonieta.
Well, that one was easy to understand for those 10 people. But it was difficult what the criteria.
But I'm still suggesting that we might want to consider descriptors for each of the categories. Just a recommendation.
I think so.
Anything else so far? Are we Are we done with this stuff? We're looking at a timeline. We're looking at the calendar now.
But it's because the last thing that I'm sorry.
That's okay. I thought we were done with the item. That's okay. Let's bring it back.
The other thing is that it says right here they can mail it, they can mail the nomination. And I wanted to know if the committee wanted to know if it was possible to email it or drop it off.
Well, I can tell you why that might be. I think they can drop off, correct? But I think the issue with emailing it is that sometimes it came with documents, it came with photographs, and it came
Artifacts.
and so it would be difficult to convey all of that in an email. And so I think that was the reason why it was either going to be, literally, physically. And I think many of them were actually turned over.
In all honesty, all of them are hand delivered.
So I can send it.
Oh, yeah, that's because everybody wants to make sure that I receive them and I timestamp.
They get lost and then, they put a time, the date that was received and it was untimed.
That's okay, that's all right. This is a really important, this is a highlight of the commission's work, and so not a problem, okay? So we then go back to the calendar. Do you want to take us through it very quickly?
Well, just very quickly, the main thing is that when do you want to go before council to present these recommendations in regards to the Hall of Fame?
Well, shall we backtrack from when let's backtrack?
It's right there.
No, I know that, but isn't it right there already then, basically?
Well, the agenda item is coming Wednesday. No, for that and for the category.
And the form, the approval of the.
No, the approval of the form.
Oh, okay.
No, because you're gonna still the same criteria.
Right.
The form, the form. You can have Priscilla, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it was just a comment on what was being discussed before. I understand most people submit an actual packet and they want to make sure that it's, it gets to you. But I do think that we should offer the email submission as an option. I mean, especially right now with everything going on. I think it'd be more convenient. I know that it was mentioned before that we've had issues in getting these applications in. So I don't know. I'm thinking offering more options. We have a possibility of receiving more applications.
Honestly, as being the receiver of the application, isn't a problem with receiving it via email. I know that it's because if you have a chance, you want to come to my office, I can send you show previous packets. They're like books and they have at least 3 to 5 copies.
Yeah, it's so right.
Okay, so come in with a file box.
Yeah.
So, but I don't have a problem telling them they can email it.
It would be a large
If they email it, who's going to print a 3 to 4 to 5? And if that's something that the city is willing to do. No, but it's not Sulema, it's the city of Laredo, with the city of Laredo.
Because we have to print everything.
At the city's expense, materials that belong to a private individual. I'm not sure that is something that would be feasible for the city. I don't know. Sulema, you might want to look.
I can double check on that.
He hand delivered. As you say, they bring so much stuff.
You would want to make sure that all your attachments made it there in
Yes.
person instead of like, what if we left that responsibility on Sulema and like by accident she misses an attachment and if somebody's whole half of their resume is gone, you know what I mean?
Well, and it's actually not just, ladies, there's real artifacts,
Right.
magazines, plaques, pictures, and it's going like, okay. So there's a lot of artifacts that they submit.
I want to come back to the calendar, if that's all right.
Before, Ms. Suleiman, what do you need from us to submit to the city council meeting by Wednesday?
Okay. The agenda with the recommendations that you're gonna make, 100% you're saying council to consider these changes to Hall of Fame application. Okay, and then whoever's gonna present, is not gonna present. One of you has to do it.
Let's look at the calendar. We know, that's what I was suggesting, that we backtrack. On October the 11th, we should be appointing the Women's Committee, the Women's Hall of Fame Selection Committee. That's when we get to work. That's when we appoint the committee, okay? So if we want to have this done before then that means that between October the 11th and August 16th, Sulema's point was that the agenda for the next, of August the 16th is due on Wednesday. Would we have time, Maria Antonieta, submit the final copy of the revised by then, so that we could come to city council on the 16th to make the recommendation?
Yeah, we're saying we don't have to submit the full form, just the recommended.
I would make a copy to the council members. Maria Antonieta. The more they have to look at, the better.
Attach the original with the new form, or just the new one, and then.
Just any time, and with copy ordinance for them to refer to.
Yes. Also for the city council meeting, like who needs to attend, that would be enough.
Any of us that can? More than likely, we will work on the committee. I would come to the floor, but I would come with the committee, and then I would introduce the agenda item over to the committee.
And I would recommend, ladies, that you be prepared. I would take the ordinance in hand. We're gonna give them a copy of the ordinance and a copy of the prepared changes that we might highlight them and where they reference in the ordinance where you want the change. Okay?
We're agreeing. You'll be able to submit the final version.
And I can just put like a little marker in there to say Commission for Women will present changes to the ordinance in regards to the Hall of Fame presentation. And then you can get the stuff.
So far, so good. Anything more? Right now, we're looking at calendar. So we're looking at coming to city of the revised application form, right? September the 13th. Is that our
next September meeting?
Already September 13th. Okay. That's when the nominating committee will be making recommendations for the position of secretary and parliamentarian for vote by the general membership. I'm curious about something, whether the two ladies who continue for 20. Into the following and so in September, we would have election of officers. And there is Dr. Richard Chamberlain scheduled for presentation.
Right now, I talked to him, but I saw him on Friday during budget meeting, and he was embarrassed because he said with COVID and everything. I said, I totally understand, so I will have a more definite towards the end of the month.
That we need to consult a general letter of invitation working on one and it's like, sensitive to guys, we follow the meeting, so they don't expect things we cannot do.
And I could say, let me just clear something because we ran into a little bit of this last month. The day I sat down and I prepared an update for all of you. I have a habit of doing that after we have to do something. I like to recap it and all of you and I knew. And I sent it to Anna telling her I think I'm fine. I don't think I'm calling for action on anything. And basically I was told, and so is she going to be able to do? Will she be
Well,
able to-
what she's doing is Rooney, it is presented to us like right now at a meeting.
Oh, at a meeting.
She's not gonna send it.
Okay, you won't be able to send it
No.
an email.
No, I
No.
never said.
She's gonna present it at a
Okay,
meeting.
that's fine.
Because I think all the people that we invited under the same.
It's a good idea, but what I wanted to just make clear that we're not gonna be able to do any emailing. Right. So you'll bring it to at an actual meeting. All right.
The invitation, we can put the points.
Because, yeah, actually, the letter, just so you guys know, is a general understanding of what the commission is about. But I also suggest come to the meetings, they're open to the public. And I have mentioned so far two events, like the Hall of Fame, the biography, for them to consider nominating someone. Mentioned the International Women's Celebration, which I'm presuming is becoming an annual thing. But I didn't know what else to add, so that also serves as a promotion.
What we can do is when you bring it to the meeting, we can look at it and possibly add to it. Yeah, great idea. Thank you very much, Vanessa. We're looking at October the 11th, which would be when we present the slate, the first meeting. Okay, appointment of the Commission for Women's Hall of Fame Committee. Any other committees being discussed?
Sylvia Palumbo, did you want to say something? Esther Quiroga?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm
what
good.
was that?
I'm good.
I'm okay too.
Your mic open. Gotcha. Go on. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. The second page, we're going to be setting deadlines for accepting nominations and induction into the Hall of the 11th, 5:30. City Council meetings on November the 8th. We have the commission meeting, and at that point, we finalize the 21-22 action plan to present to the City Council for approval. And that will more than likely follow shortly after, perhaps in November 15th. December the 13th.
And then if I want those recommendations, I think that it would just be fair with a new slate of officers coming into place, that would be their role, okay? That would be the role that new chairperson coming in would present the 21-22 action plan to council for approval, okay? So that's, and again, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, this is not etched in stone, okay? This is just recommendation from my previous experience in working, because time flies. We only meet once a month, and before you know it, we're gonna look up and it's already November, and the bylaws clearly state that the Hall of Fame applications have to be open for 60 days. 60 days, okay? So you have to count backwards as to when does it need to be presented and approved by council before, you know, you get to do it. So again, there is a lot of work ahead of us.
Okay. And so then that 60-day leeway would then give us an opportunity to consider it as by February, that February 21st, it would be our last opportunity to present commission recommendations. Going to be in depth.
Yeah, because it is gonna let what they're gonna recommend, review all those stuff.
So then it doesn't give us, a date for the actual event.
Because you all haven't chosen an actual
We
event.
haven't said it.
That's gonna be up to the chair, the incoming,
Okay, so whoever that chair is to be needs to know.
and it's gonna be up to the Hall of Fame committee appointed
Yeah.
by the new slate of officers.
Any questions, any comments, folks, regarding the calendar? It's a good one. Thank you so much, Zulema.
And if I will be changing, so.
Okay. We need to, have a discussion on the use of social media for the Laredo Commission for Women. Zulema?
The last meeting, it was brought up that there was a dormant Facebook page and a website for, the Laredo Commission, and apparently they were dormant. So, a discussion was had about reviving them and more with social media. I was advised that the reason that, they are dormant is legal had instructed all committees, only social media that is officially used are those by city departments for legal purposes. And they explicitly said that, due to retention requirements and the legalities with any and all postings, the city of Laredo chose not to allow any social media sites other than those approved for official city of Laredo departments.
That's it.
So, sorry, that's what I was given.
All right. Now we know. Thank you. All right, let's take a look at the next item on the agenda. Agenda 7B. We're looking at the International Women's Day, March 8th of 2022. As to the if, the how, and the when that we would celebrate and acknowledge today. It's open. I know that Amber's worked on it. Is there anyone else, Amber?
Is anybody else interested in joining my committee?
Well, and ladies, on there as a again, it's gonna be up to the slate of officers. Do you want to add it? Do you want to continue with it for the 21-22, action plan? Okay, so there's just like a little saving place, like a stake maker, but again, that's still far time, but I didn't want to just kind of wipe it away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so good. Okay, and the same applies to the Yes, I Will Vote campaign?
I would say so.
Identify any critical activities, events at the Commission for
I
Women?
would say so. Sylvia Palumbo, do you have any, input on that one?
No. On the get out the vote, no, I haven't done anything. I had a death in the family and I haven't worked on it. So, but I'll get on it and I'll find out what we can do. I think we need to have certified deputized to do it. But
Coming on board? You want to pursue that for the 21-22 years?
Yes, were you able to hear me?
No.
I'm sorry, we're breaking up. No,
okay.
we were breaking up, I think. That's what happened.
There was interference from another open mic, but what I was saying is that I would recommend that we sit on that one commission, the commission decides whether that's something that you want to continue with for the, 21-22 action plan, okay? So I
That's
just
fine.
gonna leave it there as a marker and not erase it, but there's more discussion to come on that one.
All righty.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. All right, then
Thank
the,
you.
The next item on the agenda was the Empowering Women Seminar at the outlets, and so the same, we're recommending that we do the same. We're not taking them off the table, but we're going to wait until the election of new officers to move formally on what exactly we're going to be doing with them. Is that correct? All right, so if we're all in agreement, as far as I can see, that's the end of our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by
Second,
And seconded by
Sylvia Palumbo.
Palumbo. It was moved by Diana Rodriguez and seconded by Sylvia Palumbo. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much, folks.